Good evening. Time is 7 o'clock and we're ready for the Raytown Board of Aldermen meeting. This is September 20th, 2011. You got the opening session now that it is 7 o'clock. We're going to be working hopefully from the amended agenda, should the council approve that tonight, which had to add a few things regarding a proclamation and a closed session. That's a different board than what we received in our packets. But before we get to that point, I'm going to call upon our friend Gene Calhoun. Gene is the worship pastor at First Baptist Church of Raytown for our invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you. It's good to get to be here. I just say for me, we've lived in Raytown for 32 years. Kind of quiet citizens, but we appreciate the work that you all do and that you're expose yourself to telling a while ago that we're building another house. We hunted for 2 years to find the lot from Steve that had a Raytown address.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Father, I do thank you for these men and women and for their willingness to serve the city of Raytown. I know many times it's a thankless job, and we appreciate to serve. Just today, leaders are big thinkers and they think about ideals, talk about small people, talk about people. So I thank you that these people are willing to lead. And thoughts for the city of Raytown. Just pray. In Christ's name that I pray. Our pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Alderman Mock.
Here.
Alderman Lightfoot.
Here.
Alderman Azier.
Here.
Alderman Van Buskirk.
Here.
Alderman Pardue.
Here.
Alderman Hamilton.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Ertz.
Here.
Alderman Kramer. Alderman Nelson.
Here.
Alderman White.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. At this time, I'm going to ask Becky Adney from the American Business Women's Association Royal Ridge Chapter and the ladies with her to please join me at the podium. Next time you're shopping, when you least expect it, somebody will say, I just saw you on TV Tuesday night. Guarantee you. It is an honor to again recognize the American Business Women's Association for all the work that they do in our community. Our chapter, the Royal Ridge chapter, started here in Raytown. Dominant chapter in the area here. Great deal of pleasure that tonight, this city, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen, after claim, Raytown business women have made significant and increasing contributions to our local economy, to the competitiveness of the United States internationally. Working women have expanded their horizons, diversified their skills, and obtained high personal and career goals. The American Business Women's Association, a national educational association, and the Royal Ridge chapter specifically, locally, has greatly assisted in the effort through providing business training and networking opportunities for women of diverse occupations and backgrounds. The Royal Ridge chapter has dedicated 38 years to women's education, workplace skills, and career development training. I, David Bauer, the mayor of Raytown, hereby proclaim September 22nd, 2011 as American Business Women's Day in the city of Raytown. and invite our residents in joining with me and the Board of Aldermen in thanking and recognizing the effort.
Yes, the Royal Ridge chapter was formed in 1970. Is that right? And so has been active in Raytown since then. We do have a lot of things planned for Thursday, September the 22nd. There are many merchants that are going to be giving discounts and special offers that day for women. And so as you see some of those pink flyers laying around, pick those up and take advantage, go in and visit those merchants. Thank you very much.
Okay, Teresa, do we have a list of signees for public comments? Okay. At this time, we're going to open the podium up to public comments. Anyone in the audience that would like to address the Board of Aldermen on items pertaining to the city that are within our realm to handle are welcome at this time. No public comments? Once, twice? Moving on. This again has been an interesting, very busy 2 weeks for our city. We've had a number of things all occur for the positive. We had the Minor Smith Park Bridge opening, which we had well attended at that, and we're happy that that park is back and the bridge is beautiful and we'll be there for, it'll outlast, as Steve Mock said, it'll outlast all of us on this board. So we're happy that it's such a beautiful structure, and the park board did a great job with getting that accomplished. We also were represented at the Missouri Municipal League this past week. The conference started on Sunday. We had the Power and Light event that we were represented at on Monday night. The full session met Tuesday morning. I made a presentation regarding economic development to the council on behalf of the city, and I think, again, that was a well-attended event. I think that we showed the elected officials across the state of Missouri how good it can be here in Kansas City. It was held at the Power and Light District for our social event. We also, on the celebration of the anniversary of 9/11, we also had a number of observances here in our town. I know that a number of congregations reached out to our first responders, who in our city are the EMS, the firefighters, the police, and also the public works officials. And I was privileged to be in a couple of those sessions, and I was proud to see our men and women who are our first responders there and recognized with standing ovations for the work that they do. And I thank the number of congregations and the Interfaith Alliance as well for putting on the fine prayer vigil they had at 4 o'clock that day. We've also had the introduction of our Truman Heartland Award recipients. Citizens of the Year were introduced to my peer group a week and a half ago. We're happy that Ben and Barbara Carmack are going to be then honored fully at a black tie event this coming Saturday night at the Independence Event Center. And we're very proud of those fine people representing the city. They join a very distinguished group of citizens who have been our previous Truman Heartland Citizens of the Year recipients. Also this coming Friday, we've got the Police REAP Benefit Golf Tournament. That's the Police Benefit Fund. The charity this year will be, again, the REAP program, Raytown Emergency Assistance Program. I understand the golf tournament is sold out, which is a great problem to have. It's a Tiffany, it's a Teetering Rocks. And again, all the teams have booked it solid, and they've had to be turning teams away. So that's a great event. And one other thing I want to make sure we get announced tonight is that we have the privilege of having an honorable gentleman sitting at our dais tonight with us that has just turned 75 years old. And I want to thank Jim Hamilton for all of his work on the board and all that he's done, and happy birthday to Jim Hamilton. With that, Jeremy, would you like to fill in as Mahesh is out of town on business?
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. I don't believe I have anything to report tonight. Just want to make sure that everybody got my email on the damaged sign out front. We haven't begun to discuss how we're going to replace the sign yet. There's been a few ideas passed around. I'm sure when Mahesh gets back, we'll probably have a more formalized plan for what sign will go back in place of the one that's been damaged. But the gentleman that damaged the sign does have insurance, so we will be filing the claim to recoup the loss of that sign. Beyond that, I don't believe I have anything else.
Very good. We'll go to committee reports. I'll ask Mr. Pardue if he's got anything.
There's no report at this time.
Nothing? Okay. Mr. Mock?
Yeah, Council on the Aging will be meeting this Thursday, the 22nd, at 4:15 here.
Mr. Lightfoot, legislative.
Legislative Committee doesn't have anything to report on. We're still working toward getting a meeting set. The representatives are out of session now, so it's kind of hard to get something going.
Any feedback that we've gotten on how the economic development session has gone? Has there been any?
I have not. I've got some emails out, but I'm still waiting for responses.
Okay. Mr. Ertz, how about the police pension board review?
Waiting for the time, I believe on the 27th, for that event to take place.
It seems to be the most favored date, but we need to hold on for just probably one more day to get it verified. So.
That'd be fine.
So we've making progress on that.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And Park Board, I've had Ms. White joins me on that with Mr. Kramer and Mr. Mock. We have a committee that's been assembled to help with understand and bring forth a memo of understanding for the Park Board governance. And I'm happy to report that we've got the final draft is in my hands, and I'll be distributing that to the Park Board for their review and hopefully concurrence, and we'll bring it back to you all for approval, the formal memo of understanding at that point. So things are progressing on that as well, and those have been some good meetings. Any other committee reports? Ms. Melson.
I do have some information from the Shepherd Center. They're having two events. The first one is their Super Saturday, which is a fundraiser for Shepherd Center, and that will be held October 8th from 11 to 2 at One Spirit United Methodist Church, and tickets are $6, and I just happen to have some. As well as each year, Shepherd Center does a fall clean sweep, and this year, instead, they usually do it on one weekend, but this year they will be doing it between October 24th and November 6th. So they're in need of groups and volunteers on their schedule to be able to go and help older adults clean up their properties, kind of in preparation for the winter. That's picking up branches and trimming hedges and doing such. So on either of those events, if you have any questions, just call 356-9000.
That's one of those events that's very rewarding. I know that Ms. Melson and Ms. White and I served on the same committee for some of the same houses and that. And it was a very a lot of hard work we put in, but very rewarding for us as well. So I'd love to see the board get out and help with that. Okay, anything else? Committee reports. Okay, we're going to move to the legislative session. First item is the consent agenda. Do I hear motion to approve the consent agenda? Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on approval of the consent agenda, which contains the minutes from the last meeting only? Call the vote, please.
Alderman White?
Okay.
Yes. Alderman Pardue?
Yes.
Alderman Ertz?
Yes.
Alderman Hamilton?
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk?
Yes.
Alderman Nelson?
Yes.
Alderman Azier?
Yes.
Alderman Mock?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Abstain as I wasn't at the last meeting.
Alderman Lightfoot?
Yes.
I'd also like at this time to entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda that's in front of us tonight. Again, it's the addition of the proclamation we had in a closed session following the meeting.
Second.
Mr. Azier's got the motion to approve the amended agenda, seconded by Mr. Hamilton. Discussion? Call the vote on that, please.
Alderman Azier?
Yes.
Alderman Hamilton?
Yes.
Alderman Ertz?
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk?
Yes.
Alderman White?
Yes.
Alderman Pardue?
Yes.
Alderman Nelson?
Yes.
Alderman Mock?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot?
Yes.
Okay, moving into the regular agenda now, we've got a public hearing that is continued from the previous meeting. It's a public hearing to establish the 2011 property tax levies. I ask the clerk to perform the second reading on that, please.
An ordinance establishing the annual property tax levy rate for the City of Raytown General Operating Fund and the Parks Fund for the year 2011.
Mr. Wilmoth, anything to add as our finance director, sir?
Yes, good evening. The county has produced the final assessed valuation. As you can tell from our last meeting that, excuse me, this number is, the assessed value has dropped by $109,000 from the the previous assessed valuation figures that they had submitted. The increase in assessed valuation is largely due to personal property going up $1 million and real estate dropping $1.2 million. Those two, when you offset them, it is a reduction of $109,000 from the previous number. However, the assessed valuation still increased $2.7 million. So just going over the assessed valuations again, as we did last time, the real estate value increased $1.1 million, which was an increase of to 238.2 million. I'd like to note, though, that new construction equaled 2.1 million, and so if, let's say, we didn't have that new construction this year, then the assessed value actually would have decreased $1 million. Personal property increased $846,000, which is now 58.1 million. The state assessed value stayed the same from the previous meeting. So with the Hancock amendment, the city is able to maintain the exact same levy. Again, without the new construction, we probably would have been looking at an increase in the levy to maintain the same revenue as last year, but new construction is not factored into that Hancock limitation. So the levy essentially is going to stay, or the levy is staying flat from the previous fiscal year, which is 36.62 for the general fund and 18.29 for the park fund. The revenues that we're anticipating is $1,038,000 for the general fund and $517,000 for the park fund. Beyond that, I'd answer any questions you may have.
Okay, I'm going to go back and make sure that we have, by introducing it, I intended to reopen the public hearing, so hopefully that's been accomplished. Would anyone on the board like to share, before we go any further with the discussion, any ex parte communication they may have had since the last conversation on this matter? Mr. Van Buskirk. Very good. Okay, and I appreciate your indulgence on that. Jeremy has given us an application review on that again, and we're going to go to questions of Mr. Wilmoth before we bring the public back up. Any questions of Jeremy at this time? Okay. Then I'm going to ask the public if they would like to address the Board of Aldermen regarding this particular subject at this time. That being the 2011 property tax levy. If the public wants to address the board, this is the time. Welcome, Andy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Alder people. First off, I'd like to say that I think the Raytown's levy is quite reasonable. I appreciate the fact it's the school district that charges an exorbitant fee, and it just makes Raytown for the rich only, so nobody can really afford to live in Raytown. Maybe you could address it to them, but I do think the Raytown's tax levy is reasonable. I appreciate that. I may disagree with the way the money's spent, but I'm satisfied with your mill levy. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to dispense with public comment. We'll go to board discussion. Any discussion on this matter? I'm going to recognize the closing the public hearing, and then we'll entertain. I'll take Ms. White's motion here, seconded by Mr. Kramer, for approval of this particular item. Discussion on the item. No discussion? Call the vote, please.
Alderman White? Yes. Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk?
Yes.
Alderman Pardue?
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot?
Yes.
Alderman Mock?
Yes.
Alderman Hamilton?
Yes.
Alderman Nelson?
Yes.
Alderman Azier?
Yes.
Alderman Ertz?
Yes.
Okay, item number 3 is the first reading, and I'll ask the clerk to perform that reading at this time.
An ordinance amending Section 23-132 of the City Code relating to snow emergency regulations.
Mr. Hanson is our city engineer. Any additional comments, sir?
Okay. This is to revise the ordinance to take off a handful of streets that have been on our emergency snow route map, but we don't see the necessity to any longer. The map that was attached with your packet was our operations snowplow map. I handed out the orange map, which is the emergency snow route map. That will be the proposed emergency snow route map. One change that I did see at the very bottom of the page, 87th Street from Raytown Road to the east is slated to be removed. And I just neglected to remove that piece yet. But other than that, the other streets have been removed from that map, being the ones that are listed on the middle of the front page. On the northeast corner, 51st Street from Woodson to Blue Ridge. In the downtown area, 63rd Terrace, 64th, and Cedar. Then in the Gregory Heights area, removing 75th Street from Blue Ridge to Hunter. And then at the very bottom of the page, removing 87th Street from Raytown Road to the east. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Hanson? Mr. Ertz?
Only if Mr. Hanson would like to just state briefly what a snow emergency route entails for the people that live on the streets.
Yeah, this ordinance, I believe it is attached, more or less, it's more or less the emergency routes in which cars are not allowed to park on those emergency snow routes during a snowstorm. I believe that is the essence of the emergency snow route. It doesn't have anything to do with the order in which we plow, but it's more for keeping the streets free of parked vehicles.
Mr. Hanson, will this be put in the paper by chance so the citizens will know about this? I know we got a lot of them watching on Channel 7 tonight,
Sure.
but there's also many other ways.
I'm going to give the final copy to Teresa, and I can forward it to Randy Patagler as well.
Okay, very good. Any further questions, Mr. Hanson? Mr. Hamilton?
Well, in that same regard, I just was wondering, are there signs posted along these roads indicating they are emergency snow routes so that, I mean, a lot of people are not going to, in my opinion anyway, be aware of this. And so I'm just wondering if we need some sort of signs that indicate no parking, emergency snow route.
There should be. I don't know if all these streets have. That's something that we'd have to check and verify. But they should be signed emergency snow routes.
But does the sign include no parking?
I believe so. I'll have to verify that.
Okay, I think it's worth looking into. Thank you.
That's a good point. Any other comments or questions? You want to make a motion to continue this? It's a first reading. We don't even need to take any action on that, so. But it's appreciated. Yeah. Save that for the next time. Okay. Okay, without any further discussion on item number 3, we will look forward to that coming up at the next meeting, as there's no action needed on that. At this time, we're going to announce closed session. Notice is hereby given that the Mayor and Board of Aldermen may conduct a closed session pursuant to the following statutory provisions. Paragraph 610.021, subparagraph 1, legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys. Need a motion to go to closed session? Second. Got a motion and a second. Motion made by Mr. Kramer, second by Mr. Hamilton. Call the vote on that, please.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Hamilton?
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot?
Yes.
Alderman Mock?
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk?
Yes.
Alderman Ertz?
Yes.
Alderman Nelson? Yes. Alderman White? Yes. Alderman Azier?
Yes.
Alderman Pardue?
Yes.
Let's reconvene in the administrative conference room.